One of the best ways to learn astrology is just to practice. You can practice on the charts of friends and family, and that's really good because you can ask them some questions and get some feedback. But after a while, you might start running out of people to practice on. And so often astrologers will use celebrity charts for their research. Now, to respect privacy, I don't like to dig into a celebrity chart and start making an assumption. What I like to do is read articles about them, watch video interviews, read biographies, autobiographies, especially documentaries and reality TV. Reality TV is great for learning more about celebrity charts because you can watch them in action and episode after episode. And there's one family that's been on TV for, what is it, more than 20 years now? Can you guess who I'm talking about? It's the Kardashians. Over the years, I had seen a few episodes here and there, but I got really sick over Christmas and was in bed for days. And it was hard to think, it was hard to focus. I just wanted to watch some TV, nothing that I had to really focus on. So I binge watched several seasons of the Kardashians, and I had my laptop next to me in bed and I looked up all their charts, and I got their information from astro.com and all the birth times for all the girls in the show. Birth times had been verified. So that's really helpful because if we have a birth time, then we have an accurate rising sign and we know what houses the planets are in. So as I watched the show, I paid attention to their behavior, how they spoke, the sound of their voice, their interactions with each other. If you want to get to know the real person, watch how they interact with their family, where the guards are down and the truth comes out. And if you want to know how the planets and the zodiac signs and the houses to really, it's one thing to read it in a book, but to get a feel for what it means, watching reality TV and getting a hold of the birth chart is really helpful. Or if you can watch a public figure or celebrity be interviewed, that can help as well. Let's start with Kris Jenner. Now, if you don't watch the Kardashians, Kris Jenner is the mom. She's the head of the household. On astro.com, it says her birthday and time, November 5th, 1955, 2:47 a.m. in San Diego, California. She has late Virgo rising, 28 degrees of Virgo. And when I began to watch the show, what stood out to me about Kris is she is running the show. She is the head of the household. She's the boss, but she also has, I think she has a very pleasant voice and a pleasant way of speaking. She might lose her temper once in a while, but she has a very sweet voice, and her job involves marketing in a sense. She manages her children's businesses, and she manages their public appearances and photo shoots and things like that. And so her job involves marketing and talking people into things. That's what marketing is. You're convincing people, and it's a very social job, meaning she needs to be interacting with people and talking on the phone a lot. Also requires being organized. And so when I look at the chart, the first house is how we appear to other people. It's what's going to jump out at us. It's something we're going to notice pretty quickly about someone. The first house and the 10th house is what you'll want to look out first when you're looking at celebrity charts, because those are the things that we're going to see quickly about someone, and it's going to be very characteristic of them, meaning how most people would describe them. And in Kris's first house, at the beginning she has Vesta, but then toward the end of the house she has Mars, Mercury, and Neptune in Libra. Now, when someone has Mercury in the sign of Cancer or Pisces or even Libra, they tend to have a pleasant voice or a sweet voice or a pleasant way of speaking. And so even Mercury and Libra will see this. I notice it more with Mercury in one of the water signs, but Mercury in Libra will see this, and Mercury conjunct Neptune. And she has both here. Sometimes with Mars in Libra, as we see here in Kris's chart, sometimes with Mars in Libra, people are really good at telling someone else what they want to hear. And so the combination of Mercury and Neptune right there, she can get very creative in telling people what they want to hear. And she has, I mean, that is part marketing is part of her job. And so that makes sense. She has an outlet for that. Now, Mars with Mercury right there, there is some honesty underneath it. I don't think she's just going to spin stories just to spin stories. She would probably be a good writer. I don't know if she's written anything, but she'd probably do well with creative writing. But I think that even though she is very creative in what she says, there's always some kind of underlying truth there, even if Mars is in Libra, because Mars is represents being direct, honesty, being forthright. And she has Sun in Scorpio with Saturn in the second house. They're about 10 degrees apart. Even the Mars-Mercury conjunction is 10, 11 degrees apart. That's kind of wide, but I think it still operates. And the Sun-Saturn conjunction is about 10 degrees apart. That's kind of wide, but it is the sun. And so for two planets to be considered conjunct, I would say they need to be within 6 to 8 degrees of orb, but that needs to be wider for the sun and moon. I'll extend it out to maybe 10 to 12 degrees. But Saturn is also another planet of honesty and being direct. And here we have Saturn conjunct the sun. Now they're in the sign of Scorpio, and Scorpio can hide things. So here we see this again, this kind of, but in this case, it's more of selective honesty. There are some things about her that she's not going to reveal. So I'm not going to speculate on what that is, but I think it's safe to say that we can see Kris on camera. There are definite sides to Kris that are not on camera. She has parts of her life she wants to keep very private. And I'm not sure if it was the 8th, 9th, 10th season, her now ex-husband, but at the time she was still married to who was Caitlyn Jenner. And the family did take a couple episodes and talk in depth about Caitlyn becoming Caitlyn and how they felt about it, and how some of them knew for a long time and kept it secret. And so Kris Jenner can keep a secret. Scorpios are usually good at that. And Venus is also in the sign of Scorpio, and Venus is relationships, and Scorpio is about privacy. And also, Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio is about all aspects of relationships, the good times, the bad times, intimacy, the things we don't tell other people but may tell our partner, even the dark side of relationships. And she's here to learn about all those. Kris Jenner is very successful. Career-wise, she's very successful. She's made a lot of money. She's done a lot for her children. We can see up at the end of the 11th house, we have a Jupiter-Pluto conjunction in Leo, and Jupiter-Pluto combinations like this, if it's a conjunction or it's a square or opposition, it can give the person a tremendous power and drive to succeed. there are times in the show where she's working, and they talk about that. She's very, very driven. It is making almost an exact square to Venus in Scorpio. Venus is generally rules over money, but here Venus rules over the second house because the beginning of the second house is Libra. Venus rules over Libra. That's more of an intermediate topic in astrology, is rulership, but it rules over the second house, which is one's resources. It's not necessarily the house of income. It can be more generally, but it is the house of resources. So she knows how to manage resources. With the sun being in the second house, she's here to make money. Second house suns are about, making money, and can even build something very big, with their career, build a big business, build up a big nest egg. I mean, they have that capability. Not everyone with sun in the second house is going to be super successful in career and make tons of money, but we do see this often. There's a drive there to create something tangible in the world. And even Oprah has I think her sun in the second house, and a few planets there too. So I'm kind of thinking about Oprah and her quote unquote empire. That's how I see Kris Jenner. It's like she's built this little empire. Her and her daughters have a lot going on, and she's had a big hand in that. The last thing I'll mention about Kris Jenner is she has moon in Cancer, and you see this often in the show where she gets teary-eyed and is crying, and she feels so deep, and it's almost always in connection to her family. She loves her kids, and she'll get teary-eyed if something's going on with them. Cancer is home and family and emotion, and moon in Cancer can be very sensitive emotionally. When she's tearing up on that show, those are real tears. She's really feeling that. That is not fake. She cares deeply for her children. The moon, Cancer is a water sign. Scorpio is a water sign, so her sun and moon are in water. She feels, and she feels deeply, but she knows how to be convincing. Don't forget about those. Don't forget about those first house planets in Libra. And also about the sun with Saturn and Scorpio. Saturn is the planet that represents the manager. So if someone has a strong Saturn in their chart, and I would say here conjunct the sun, Saturn plays a big role. Saturn is the manager and the organizer, and we see that with her and her family and career and everything kind of mixed together there. Her daughters have been very successful with their careers and being able to find a way to make good income, and undoubtedly Kris has had a hand in that with all of them. So if you enjoyed this video about Kris Jenner, I will have more videos. I'm going to do one for each one of the Kardashians, Kourtney, Kim, Khloe, and also the two younger Jenner girls, Kendall and Kylie.